Hi, and welcome to episode 10. I'm Vadd, and today is the day. We are on the center map, and we have been breeding like crazy. We got our breeding island set up, and today's the day where we take out some of our tames, and it's probably not the tame you think we're going to take out, but there's only one way to find out. These are the snow pteranodons. These were the ones that we had no trouble breeding early on, and their breeding times were the same as vanilla pteranodons, which was fairly nice because it meant we could just breed an army of these. I'm not sure 100% what we should be fighting with these elemental pteranodons. Right now they're fancy taxis. They are pretty fast, they're pretty strong, but they're still kind of the bottom tier. Any of these would have gotten you out the door and moving. We could be using this poison tier of Pteranodon to be tranking things out, but I think right now this is the best shot I've got of the snow. Can you see what the snow tier has coming off of it? It really does have a unique kind of aura around it. Once I lined up some of the Pteranodons, you could really get a better picture for what the snow tier looks like. Of course, last episode we got the monkeys breeding, and we have our first monkey pairs coming out, popping out, and they look just like their parents, just carbon copies. If you don't know what that is, ask your mom. If your mom doesn't know, call your grandma. Listen, we've got little baby monkeys, and I don't know if I haven't tamed enough monkey in ARK, but they're just miniature. They're little chubby, little chunky, little identical copies of the parents. I got one fun color mutation here. I don't know what I'm going to do with this monkey, but certainly not a stealth mission. And the fire ones look just like their parents. These are so cool. Obviously, if you have a great name for monkeys, that's cool. I could always use a good name suggestion. Comment now. If you don't have a good name, but you have an average name, I'm not interested. I'm only accepting great names or better names. I think last series we had Cheech and Chong, and that beat out Furious George, which is a pretty standard monkey name. I think they're so cool. They even have the same animations. They're just little chunk buckets. But I think it's time that we take out some of our tames and actually fight things with them. As you can see, we've put a hat on the golden dodo, but it kind of runs underneath. Then we're just going to pump melee. That's right, this episode's Revenge of the Dodos. I named the golden dodo I Am Jack. This isn't Susan's Jack, this is Chuck's Jack, but I didn't finish the name. I didn't want anyone to be too sad or depressed or have to spell anything too tricky. Listen, we are on our way on the golden dodo to kill things, and we found our first corrupt creature. We mentioned it, I think, in passing in an earlier episode, but there are corrupt creatures, and we can go out and find them and evolve some of the non-elemental tiered creatures into corrupt creatures. But it's a first look at one. Thought it was worth showing off. Remember when we went to tame the golden dodo just a couple episodes back? Remember what happened? It gave us that gnashed effect. Does anyone actually know what gnashed does? It's spelled G-N-A-S-H-E-D, gnashed. It's a bleeding effect, and it causes creatures to lose 5% of their total health points over in between 5 and 10 seconds, I think. So every 5 seconds for the golden dodo, we were able to cause our opponent to lose 5% of their total health points. This is something that I really thought wasn't going to be nearly as effective as it was. I was fully expecting the Revenge of the Dodo. Like, I wrote this down. I was like, we should go fight things with these big dodos. And I was like, all right, I'll go fight things with the big dodos. They'll probably just die, and that's the end of that. I've got a 30-second bit of footage where the prime alphas just wreck my nice dodos. But we've been breeding them. We've got a whole bunch with them. They are kind of the first, super modded creatures we've got our hands on. We spent a lot of episodes getting them. We've got a bunch of these to go out and fight things. Why should we not? So I wrote it down and I tried it out, and here's the results. Turns out that 5% bleed damage is incredibly powerful. Let's do some really quick math here. This prime alpha Doed has 935,000 health. And let's just say it's 1,000,000 for easy math, because I like rounding. So it's got 1,000,000 health. And anyone know what 5% of 1,000,000 is? It's like 50,000 if I did my easy math correctly. It's about 50,000. So even though you're only seeing us bite the dodo for in between 800, 1,800, maybe there's a 6,000 somewhere in there, in all reality we're doing tens of thousands of damage over that gnashed time period of 5 seconds. We even upset the locals. That blood wyvern thought they'd come and fight, but I think they got like tagged a little bit and just flew off. And this is also the moment I discovered the golden dodo would have been just as efficient as my, regular farming dinos to go farm wood and thatch. That was a huge surprise. I don't know if the prime Doed's really hitting trees and giving them to me, but I think I'm getting involved with farming trees. So be careful not to get over encumbered. I'm not sure that this is really a winning strategy, but I think it's important to know that you could be, after, taking your time to go tame and passively farm and breed your dodos and whatnot, your pasture generating creatures, they're not just useless. We can actually go and fight things. Now, a big key to the success of the golden dodo is, and again, of course, I mean, these creatures are dumb as rocks. I was really expecting the Doed to not have the vanilla ARK AI where its health gets a little low and it stops fighting back. Sure, it's taken reduced damage, but the Nash damage will just completely destroy this Dodo in a couple more seconds here. So instead of it being a fight with any challenge, it's just another fight, just like the Dilo from last episode, where you should expect to bully these creatures as long as you can get the Doed's health a little low. Anyway, you swing it. The Prime Alpha Doed is definitely one of the bottom tier of the Prime Alphas. When you're trying to go ahead and get your Evo attributes, the Dodo is an option. The Prime Alpha Dodo, the Prime Alpha Dilo. Here's a fight with the Prime Alpha Doed, and this is definitely a fight that you could try and get your hands on to get into the Prime Alpha tier. I also think the Prime Alpha Terror Bird, I think this is another creature in the Prime Alpha tier that's kind of on the bottom end. One way to kind of measure that is look at their health bar. We can see that with the awesome Spyglass mod that the Doed even had a couple 100,000 more health than the Prime Alpha Terror Bird. If you don't have the awesome Spyglass mod, just think to yourself, would I fight this with my fist? Would I bring a shotgun? What tame and vanilla ARK would you feel comfortable and confident fighting them on? And that could be a way to kind of measure, should I take this fight or not? So I kind of lined up and said, okay, let's try the Terror Bird. They're pretty dangerous, but, in vanilla ARK, once you kind of get moving, they're not too bad. With our golden dodo here, we pretty much just bully another Prime Alpha. I thought it was time to kind of up the ante. That hat getting dragged the entire time drives me a little nuts. That hat is the Prime Hide hat, and that Prime Hide hat is giving our Dodo defense. We actually, that's a bottom tier hat in the mod. You could have given our Dodo a lot more armor. We actually could have given, that hat has 75 armor as current state of the mod. We could have given the Dodo hundreds of armor, just going up, 1 or 2 tiers of different prime armor types. Now, part of the success of this strategy is not only that we've armored the Dodo with a hide helmet that it walks on top of, ignore the bugs, but we're taking advantage of the Nash buff, and we have those instant health potions. Keep your eye on our health bar. You're going to see when our health bar gets too low, we drink a potion and we have all of our health back. How can these Prime Alphas even compete with us? Completely ignoring, the intimidation factor of riding on this giant Dodo and pecking out their face, but we just heal all of our health back instantaneously. As soon as you get those massive healing potions, as far as any potential challenge in the mod, looks like it's kind of non-existent. If you're really looking for a challenging experience, then don't use the health potions and try and win these fights without them. I'm not sure that's going to work either. We're kind of moving up the Prime Alphas here, and this is a Prime Alpha Woolly Rhino. See, it has a bigger health pool. As far as I'm concerned, from our perspective, that means it's even weaker to our Nash attack, because with a million health taken, 50,000, if I did my math correctly, with more than a million health, we're doing more than 50,000 damage every 5 seconds for the duration of the Nash buff. That's just so overpowered. How can this Woolly Rhino compete? We spend most of the fight getting ourselves kind of knocked around and pushed back. I think if we didn't have the instant health elixir, we would not have made it through the Woolly Rhino here, nor would we have made it through the Prime Alpha Gigantopithecus either. Both of those are definitely kind of mid to high tier in the Prime Alphas. They are not something you want to take on lightly, and their health regen is absolutely incredible. There have been a couple of times in the Prime Alpha fights where I have walked away from the fight to go and heal or just kind of duck around a corner, and much to my surprise, I've come back and discovered that they have regenerated hundreds of thousands, 500,000 health, 600,000 health, just incredible numbers. And we're getting hit hard. You know, even with the instant heal elixir, this is kind of a scary fight. You know, most of this footage is a little bit sped up and a little bit edited so that, you know, you're not sitting me here watching me bite a rhino for, you know, 30 minutes or whatever it took. It took a while, but as long as you can keep up the pressure and not let the rhino bump you around too much, you know, they don't corner very well. You know, we really should have tried to stay a little behind him or to the side. This rhino doesn't have a real shot. I mean, it can't compete with all of our full health elixirs, and it can't compete with the bleed damage we're putting on this poor prime alpha woolly rhino. The goal of this episode is to get our hands out of the early game. You know, we need to take some of our dinos out and fight, but we also need to get that evolution hat. And I think at this point, you should have an understanding of why you want those evolution hat tributes to build the alpha hat. I forget the name of it right now. But anyhow, we're trying to build that hat, and so we need to kill more prime alpha dinos. And all that being said, at this point, you should have several different tools in your toolkit to do that. You could have come out here on the Dodos, you know, if you're really feeling a little frisky, or we have some flyers, you know, all these these prime alphas we fought so far. Look, we got 3 evo tributes there. You're not just getting 1 when you fight a lot of these. We're gonna up the ante, and we're going to go after a prime alpha mammoth. This is probably kind of at that top percentage of the prime alphas, one of the harder prime alphas to fight. Maybe I'm completely misunderstanding them, but it's my understanding that this should be a real challenge, and we're about to find out. Ooh, we hit it for big damage. Well, I don't know about that. I will tell you, though, that with having almost 2 million health, look, we did 200,000 damage, not from the bites, but in just a couple of seconds. That's from that bleed effect. That bleed effect is absolutely shredding this larger health pool. You gotta wonder how far you could push it. How far? Now look, you know, in all fairness, the prime alpha mammoth here really did put the hurt on us. We did do about 400,000 damage in about 15 seconds, so just a couple of bleed attacks, but it really hit us hard and really knocked us back. So we're going to need to show up with better armor or enough potions to see this fight through. We really need to have considered maybe using our elemental Pteranodons. We have enough that we could lose a few and not be sad, and most of these creatures we fought don't have any kind of ranged attack. They can't handle a flying dinosaur. What could this mammoth do? We haven't seen a single ranged attack. It's still taking the time to walk over and chomp on us and just about knock us over this cliff edge. You can see that it's actually turning to night. This fight went long enough that the stars are out. You know, it was a long fight, but it's down about half of, you know, almost 2 million health. 1.8 million, 1.1 left. We've taken down 600,000 health. I think that taking out the Pteranodons would have been a way to handle some of these and not have to spend the health potions, which would just be more efficient. Obviously, we had the health potions to use. That's why we went and farmed, you know, as many golden dodos as we could. But if you didn't have the golden dodos, you know, maybe this gets patched down in the future. That's silly, Managmar. Get out of here. You know, maybe it gets patched down in the future, and someone goes, oh yeah, you know, that Nash is pretty strong. Well, yeah, or maybe, you know, they can't wear the prime hats. You know, you can't armor your dodos, you know, because that's the thing. Look at that health regen. Wow. Under 1 million health, 800,000 down, and maybe this all gets completely nerfed to the ground. That's fine. We have all those flying elemental tames. We could have just been, you know, doing a classic Pteranodon C-spin, just rolling around, chomping at the backside of these big boys. There's nothing they could do. You know, they don't have a ranged attack, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they do have a ranged attack, but why isn't it shooting me with any ranged attack right now? Now, it is hitting me for big numbers, but I can just completely heal all my health back. So why do I care how hard it hits? As long as I'm not killed in one hit, as long as there's not a one-hit knockout, an OHKO, I think I've seen it written. As long as I don't get killed in one hit, I'll just heal my health completely back. I mean, this poor prime alpha mammoth is doing its best. It is down, 1,300,000 in just a couple of moments here. It really is not quite fast enough to deal with us. You know, it needs to be a little faster to keep up with the dodos. I know, we've all done it. We've all killed a few dodos. We've all eaten their eggs. We've all farmed a few. You know, it's almost like the classic beginner ARK. That penguin is in the line of fire. It's like the classic starter ARK dino. They hang out on the beach. They have supplies you need for early game items, and I really thought that it was their time to go out and bully whatever they could. I wonder if this would be nearly as effective if I wasn't on a golden dodo. You know, I think the other dodos might not have that same gnashed effect. I didn't pick a fight with the other dodos. I just tamed them like a regular person. But, you know, maybe you know that the other dodos also have this big gnashed attack. Well, then you have an opportunity to bully some of these bigger health pools. Go ahead and take advantage of that. It is Revenge of the Dodos. It's their time to shine. You know, I think we finally have enough materials to get our hands on that alpha hat. We still need to be level 50, shouldn't be an issue. We've talked about it before. And with the alpha hat, we're officially done with the early game. We're in the mid game. Like, the early game's done. I think it's officially time. I put my foot down, I stamp it, I get out my shotgun with my flashlight. I don't know why, I just like this flashlight. I finally used it at night. As you can see, it's not nearly as effective as just gamming up. And there's this juvenile Yudi that has scared me half to death about 50 billion times. I don't know if it hasn't learned to eat yet, but then I remembered that I'm wearing my fancy hat, the one that lets me not be attacked, which is awesome. And this Alpha Gigantopithecus, the big boy monkey, he's just been killing everything inside except the Yudi. They just have some kind of peace treaty, but it's stomping around. It's kind of scary. So it's time. Let's take off the hat. Can we tame it without the hat? We've tamed a few, mostly out of luck. You can see we've enraged the Yudi and we've enraged the monkey. The good news is this the Alpha Gigantopithecus is still just kind of dumb as rocks. It still has the regular AI. It hasn't seen enough tender, loving care, and we're just gonna grapple onto a good tree and get out of here. It's not that it's not dangerous, just it still has Gigantopithecus speeds. I mean, there, lost aggro. Like, let's go again. Still without the hat. I'm just trying to see how valuable that hat is, and I'm fairly confident that the answer is very valuable. You want the hat. You want the hat, okay? Just put on the hat. You can still get one hit killed. It's a dangerous creature. Let's try this again. Round 2, ring the bell with the hat. What happens next? Best guess is, oh look, it's not aggressive to us. Oh shoot, a saber. Okay, if you're wearing your fancy hat and you take some damage, you're visible again. It ruins your your invisibility for just a moment. So that's why we ran away there when the saber came up, because I didn't want to aggro anything. But thankfully, the Alpha Gigantopithecus is a fairly safe thing to check out. There's another crafting table we've not messed with. The mod does have this, I believe it's currently called Pandora's Box, which is an incredibly ominous name for a crafting table. Anyone familiar with the ARK boss arenas should recognize some of the structures. It looks super cool. I placed it on the wall here and you almost missed out. It has the fun ARK logo on it. I really like this crafting table. What's it for? Well, if you don't have the DLCs for ARK, you just have the base game, you're going to be missing out on some of the structures you might want to be building. It's actually called the ACR Pandora's Box. I don't know what that stands for. It's not incredibly expensive, but it'll let you build some of those downloadable content, the DLCs for ARK that you might need if you're playing through the AG Reborn mod. I have the DLCs, so I didn't build one, but it's definitely worth mentioning. You can craft in your inventory, and it's important to keep your eyes on the change notes, especially if you're watching this series much later. The mod does get pretty regular updates of late, and it has fairly large meta changing updates. If you played this mod a few months ago, golden dodos didn't make health packs. I think they made golden treats. And if we go to the current change notes, you can see in between this episode and last episode, there have been several large paragraphs of changes. The one we want to notice is that golden dodos officially should make a healing elixir in 4, I believe, real world hours, and they should be making golden treats as well. And now Jerboas also will produce kibble when on wander. Okay, this kind of changes things enough that we should definitely go out and check them out. Are our golden dodos producing healing elixirs and golden treats? If they are making golden treats, nice. We still want to make the berry warehouse. Maybe we don't need to focus on it as early, because if they can also eat golden treats, they're self-sufficient, hypothetically, if they only need to eat once an hour. Okay. Golden Dodo 1 on Wander on the Hitching Post has the healing elixir. It's been here quite a while. No golden treats. Let's check in on Golden Dodo number 2. Same case. We're still seeing the elixir, not seeing the treats. Lucky number 3. Come on, past regeneration. 0 for 3. Okay, we talked about this last episode. We're going to have to go check in on that other mod we're using, the soul storage mod. Let's check the golden dodos we have stacked up in here, and they're making oodles of treats and elixirs. So it does work. We'll keep our eye on the ones that are on Wander, and let's check out the Jerboas. We need to go and tame Jerboas because I've just been farming supply drops. It's been pretty easy to go get most all the taming supplies I need from the supply drops. Look, you can see 3 from our base. I mean, you can see everything from up here. I mean, they're pretty regular spawned in items, and AG Reborn changes the supply drops. So, hey, I don't know what this is. If you know what this is, comment and tell me right now. It says Enraged Trike. I'm going to leave it alone and just let it live its best life. It has 4.2 million health, a giant red angry aura around it. I'm just gonna give it some space. I'm not in the mood to die right now. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so Jerboas. We also, of course, have our fancy Trank gear and aim. Yeah, okay, we're just the worst. Let's try again, but let's just calm down. We've clearly advanced beyond taming Jerboas. We're going to go back to our wooden bow. We're going to go back to those improved narcotic arrows, the fancy AG Reborn arrows that you have to fight the scary snakes for. Not a fan. And let's see how they do. Okay, they don't kill the Jerboa in one hit, and they provide some kind of shock electric. We tried to give them some of our extraordinary kibble from our kibble farm, but that they don't eat kibble. They only eat the purple berries. Actually, they should eat any berry, but we just were surprised. Whatever, we've got a Jerboa. And these are the arrows we're using. You do have to go mess with the nope ropes. I'm not a fan of that, but they did have that electric effect. They did provide a massive number of toper, and they completely drained the food on what we were going to tame. So it might really be worth using these arrows if you haven't progressed the way we have into the compound bow and the metal trank arrows. You can see again the food goes down. You can see they get kind of shocked, tranquilized, toper all the way up. Definitely worth going out and checking out those arrows in the early game. Let's go ahead and hitch up our Jerboas and see what they will produce when we put them on Wanderer. They should be making kibble. I don't know why they won't eat the kibble we had to tame them, but that's okay. They ate the berries, so not a complaint. It's much easier to get your hands on berries than it is to get your hands on some kibble. These are actually pretty hard to tame because they kept spawning in inside of rocks or spawning in and dying. And I showed you earlier that they mostly spawned in the cold zones. AG Reborn is a big mod, and combining kind of Annunaki Genesis and Extinction Core, there's a lot of predators. There's a lot of things that are just super aggressive, and they're Jerboas. They're so tiny, you know, they're just little. They're just running around trying to do Jerboa stuff, and this isn't scorched earth. They're getting chomped. So get your Jerboas while they're hot, tame them quick as you can, and enjoy, hopefully, the rewards, the kibble. We're going to find out if they do. We've got them hitched. We've got them on Wandering Aggressive. We've got the clock running, and I think we're going to check back in on this in a future episode. I'm not going to roll the whole time here. Just going to show just short of one full ARK day. You can see the time and the day change, and you can see the sun come up and the sun go down. I'm trying to show you that time is passing. And we don't have any kibble yet, but I will update you as we progress whether we get the kibble or not. So, you know, show up for next episode if you want to know. Maybe it'll be in episode 12. I don't know. I haven't planned that far. Listen, we've got the Jerboas, we've got the little monkeys, but the little monkeys don't say little, they get big. Remember, we've been talking about how the different tiers in the mod and inside of the elemental tiers that there's a clear distinction. These are all 100% imprinted, bred from the pairs that we went out and caught in the wild. You can pretty much see it's fairly clear cut, completely ignoring the 4 different elemental damage types that this group of monkeys represent. The poison monkeys here, they are just about a flat quarter, you know, weaker than the snow. You know, it's a pretty big jump up just to get into the snow tier. And again, from the poison to the snow, if we jump from the snow into the shock are substantially stronger as well. So don't worry too much if you're out there taming things. You're like, well, I had this really good level. Yeah, but what type of dino was it? You can see these flame monkeys are around the same level as our shock, snow, and poison. However, they have literally 10 times the health as some of them, sitting at 100,000 compared to 10. And, you know, they're a lot stronger. You know, getting those flame monkeys out is definitely the way to go. Just like the Dodos, don't forget, if you did go with these Gigantopithecus, unlike the Pteranodons, they don't have saddles, they've got hats. So I think it's time that we took the monkey squad and we made sure that they had the appropriate apparel, give them the drip, flip the switch, and there we go. It's the big kahunas. They're ready to stomp everything in sight, and I think it's about time we go and do that. Please, if you learned something or enjoyed this video, share it with a friend. If you are new here, please consider subscribing. If you have joined and enjoyed before, welcome back. If you would like to see more quality content, please consider joining me in supporting the channel through Patreon and utilizing the affiliated links. Thanks!